Welcome dear student. Our today's topic is menstrual cycle from lesson Life Processes in Living Organisms part 2 and for class 10. So let's study. Okay. First of all student, let us discuss what is menstrual cycle. So the monthly cycle of changes in the ovaries. So ovaries, this is a female reproductive organ. Okay. So the monthly cycle of changes in the ovaries and lining of uterus, that is also known as the endometrium, that is inner lining of uterus, is starting with the preparation of an egg for fertilization, that means for pregnancy. So this is a complete process of this. It is called as a menstrual cycle. And here it is a picture in which you can observe here, and this menstrual cycle is repeated every 28 to 30 days. That means this is a period of a normal menstrual cycle. It is 28 to 30 days. Okay, so here you can observe the uterine events, that is from day 1 to up to 29 or 30 days. Okay, so there are different phases are there. That is menses or menstruation phase. Then next is a follicular phase or a proliferative phase and luteal phase. Next cycle will begin. So after 28 or 30 days, again the cycle is repeating. Okay, so this is about menstrual cycle. Now discuss completely about the process of menstrual cycle, how it is happening. Let's understand. So these are different phases from day 1 to 28. Okay, so student, female reproductive system undergoes some changes at puberty, and those changes repeat at an interval of every 28 to 30 days. Now here female reproductive system, we have discussed female reproductive system in our earlier video, so you can check that video. Okay, so this female reproductive system undergoes some changes at the age of a puberty, and you know that puberty is the age of physical changes through which a child's body matures into an adult's body capable of sexual reproduction. Okay, so this is repeating after in every 28 to 30 days after at the age of a puberty. And these repetitive changes which are happening after every interval of 28 to 30 days, this is called as a menstrual cycle, and this begins at the age of all the changes are begin at the age of puberty. Okay, now menstrual cycle is a natural process controlled by 4 hormones. We know that in female the 2 hormones are there, that is progesterone and estrogen. We have discussed in our previous video. So these hormones are there in female just to maintaining, or hormones are responsible for changes in your female body for the sexual maturity. Okay, now let us see what are the 4 hormones which are responsible for menstrual cycle. Okay, so the first hormone is follicle stimulating hormone or FSH. Next is luteinizing hormone LH. Then estrogen and progesterone. So these are the 4 hormones which are responsible for or which are control the menstrual cycle. Okay, so student, this is a chart of a menstrual cycle. You observe that pituitary gland are secreting hormone, that is FSH and luteinizing hormone. Okay, so one of several follicles in the ovary starts to develop along with the oocyte present in it, and under the effect of a follicle stimulating hormone. So here one of the several follicles, that means in ovary, female ovary, follicles are present. So what are the follicles? These are the small fluid filled sac in the ovary that contains one immature egg. So there are thousands of follicles are present in a ovary of a female. Okay, and each follicle contains one egg, and after the completion of a cycle the follicles are degenerated. Okay, so these are the follicles, and these developing follicles secretes estrogen. You can observe here the developing follicles are secreting estrogen. And endometrium, now endometriums are inner lining of uterus. So endometrium of the uterus start to develop during first cycle or regenerate during subsequent cycles under the effect of a hormone estrogen. So this is a period of a regeneration of a endometrium. That means endometrium or walls of a uterus, they are developing or regenerate under the effect of a hormone estrogen. And meanwhile, developing follicle complete its developing. That means the follicle which is developing, it is completing its development while the walls of endometrium are regenerate or start developing. Okay, so this is a fully grown follicle. So student, here it is a picture of several follicles in a ovary. So you can observe here primordial follicle, primary follicle. So that is so there are different follicles are there, like secondary follicles, and many follicles are present in the ovary, and each follicle contain one immature egg. Okay. Now it bursts. That means a follicle, it bursts under the effect of a luteinizing hormone. Now here next hormone is using, that is luteinizing hormone, and oocyte is released. So when the follicle is bursting, and oocyte is released under the effect of a luteinizing hormone. Okay, so here you can observe the ovulation period. Okay, so when the follicle is bursting and it released oocyte or developing egg, so this process is called as a ovulation process. And remaining tissues of the burst follicle forms a corpus luteum. Okay, so corpus luteum, this is an endocrine gland which is present in the ovary, that every single it produces at every single month, and after it degenerated. Okay, so remaining tissues of the burst follicle forms corpus luteum, and when it is bursting, it secretes one oocyte. So this is a corpus luteum which formed by the follicles, and corpus luteum start to secrete progesterone, and corpus luteum which are formed, they start to secrete new hormone, that is a progesterone. And endometrial glands, that is glands which are present in the lining of a uterus. So these endometrial glands secrete their secretion under the effect of progesterone hormone, and such endometrium is ready for implantation of a embryo. Now here the endometrium, the endometrial gland start secreting the secretion under the effect of a hormone progesterone, and such endometrium is ready for implantation of a embryo. So student, what is implantation? So implantation is a process in which a developing embryo makes contact with the uterine wall and remains attached to it until the birth. Okay, now next we have, if oocyte is not fertilized within 24 hours, corpus luteum becomes inactive and transforms into a corpus albicans. So corpus albicans is basically an ovarian scar. So if the oocyte is not fertilized by the sperm within 24 hours, so these corpus luteum becomes inactive and they transforms into a corpus albicans. And due to this secretion of estrogen and progesterone stops completely, and endometrium start to degenerate in absence of these two hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone, and tissues of degenerating endometrium and unfertilized ovum are discarded through the vagina, and this is accompanied with the continuous bleeding approximately for 5 days. So the egg or ovum which is not fertilized with the sperm, then what happen, it is been start degenerating and it is secreted out through the vagina and through a continuous bleeding, and this bleeding continues approximately for 5 days, and this is called as a period of menstruation. And I have with underline with a red circle, you can observe the beginning of new menstruation. So this is all about menstruation. Okay, now unless the oocyte is fertilized, an embryo is implanted, and this process is repeated every month. And if the embryo is implanted, repetition of this cycle is temporarily stopped till the parturition and thereafter period of breastfeeding. So parturition is a period of giving a birth to a baby. Okay, so this is when the oocyte is fertilized. So what happened? The menstrual cycle stop for some time, or for few months, and if the embryo is implanted, repetition of the cycle is temporarily stopped until the parturition, that means delivery of a baby, and thereafter period of breastfeeding. So while breastfeeding also, the menstrual cycle is stopped. And menstrual cycle is a natural process, and the woman experience severe pains during this period, and severe weakness is felt due to heavy bleeding, and there is higher possibility of infections too during this overall period. And due to all such reasons, there is need of rest along with the special personal hygiene. So student, that is all about menstrual cycle, which is a natural process. Okay, so student, I hope you all have understood. That's all for today's video. Thank you.